What is going on, guys? Well, welcome back to another topic sort of video, which is mostly just going to be Nate's on his soapbox today because I read this tweet and I have, as of when I recorded this video, not seen Ari Aster's Beau is Afraid yet. And I'm very excited to watch it. I think Ari Aster is a really incredible mind that has made two really unique and fantastic films that I have very much appreciated. And I read this tweet from this person, and it was one of the dumbest things that I've ever read in my entire life. And I just thought that it opened up to a larger discussion, and I thought that it would be interesting to kind of talk about it and hear what you guys have to say about this. So I'm going to go ahead and read the tweet now, but this person in particular said, "A career-killing film, Ari Aster's Beau is Afraid, is what happens when studios cede full creative freedom to directors with reckless disregard for audiences outside themselves. Joaquin's stellar performance goes to waste in this dumpster fire that A24 needs to answer for. 0 out of 10. So this is probably one of the stupidest things that I've ever heard in my life. And this person clearly has never thought about making a movie or what goes into making a movie or why people make movies in the first place. So seeing the trailer for Beau is Afraid, it looks very Charlie Kaufman-esque, very otherworldly, surreal. I'm sure that there's a lot of personal experiences involved. And typically when someone goes into creating a piece of art, the first thing isn't, hey, Johnny at home, I'm writing this script out of something that he's gone through. Normally, when you make a movie, you make it out of some form of personal experience or something that you think other people out there may be able to connect to. You immediately know that not every single human being on planet Earth is going to connect with this very specific piece of art that you are creating. Essentially, in my opinion, what this person is saying is they just want more of the same factory bullshit that Disney and Marvel are putting out. They don't want anything creative. They don't want anything unique because at the end of the day, a director's vision is what makes a film come to life. The reason why you see so much struggle in Marvel and Disney and these movies that they're kicking directors to the curb and bringing someone else in is because they're saying, you're making this movie too much of your own movie and it needs to be this specific thing. They're trying to cater to a mass audience in a way that someone like Ari Aster doesn't care about that. The reason why Ari Aster makes movies is that he's hopeful that it's going to impact and empower someone in a very specific way. And that is the beauty of cinema, right? Because there's a lot of movies that I love. I spoke on Charlie Kaufman, but I think of Synecdoche, New York, or I think of David Lynch films like Fire Walk with Me, or Eraserhead, or some of Paul Thomas Anderson films like Licorice Pizza, There Will Be Blood, like really just beautiful films that have incredible powerhouse performances that, you know, look at a bigger subject matter, but also look at a lot of underlying themes that can connect to people very specifically. And I think that those type of movies are beautiful because everyone, when they watch them, feel something entirely different when they watch them and experience them. And to some people, it can be a very profoundly impacting experience. And some people might not think that it's all that great, but to come out and make such a blanketed statement and just say production companies shouldn't give these creative thinkers the ability to make movies that clearly they're not thinking about the general audiences when they make them. No, most people don't give a shit about the general audiences. Sure, production companies, when they make movies, have to think about making some kind of a profit, but A24 is clearly a company that is doing very well for themselves, not just in their production of films, but even in their own merchandising sales and their subscription services. They're not worried about it because they know when Ari Aster's name is attached to something, that with the success of Hereditary and Midsommar, people are going to watch the movie. People are going to enjoy the movie because the thing is, there are people that connect very deeply with his work and the movies that he makes. They're going to want that creativity. They're going to want something unique and special, and they're constantly going to take risks on directors that do that. I think of a perfect example is the Daniels with Everything Everywhere All at Once. Such a unique and strange viewing experience that is so beautiful and impactful in its relationships that are conveyed on screen, but at the same time, it's a movie that can be accessible, but not necessarily to everyone. There's people that it's way too weird for, but guess what? A24 took a risk because they love creativity. They love these very unique stories that are being told. And that's why I gravitate really heavily to watching their movies, because there's a lot of production companies out there that don't take risks on creative people anymore, that just want to keep putting out the same formulaic bullshit that is so boring. That's why, like, this new Ant-Man film that Marvel put out, it still made its money, but it was critically panned as horrible. Most audiences didn't enjoy it because there's nothing creative about it. These movies are just building up to something, one big climax that's going to start another thing, that just each individual movie is building up to something else. None of those movies live in the moment and are the movie, with the exception of like Guardians of the Galaxy films and a couple of the Spider-Man movies. But as far as like the big, like Captain America, Iron Man, all of these movies, they're so non-focused on being there in the moment. It's all about like, what can we do to shoehorn in as much shit as possible to get to the next thing. And that's why, like, when people make blanketed statements like this that just feel so silly and stupid, because the thing is too, on top of that, if you're watching this movie just from the trailer, looking at the cinematography and the editing choices, there's no way this movie is a 0 out of 10. You're just a bitter person that wants movies that you don't have to think too hard about, which is unfortunate, because that seems to be the issue with a lot of creators not being able to make the films that they want, is because I feel like the society, especially when it comes to big budget films now, are being hand fed these movies that it's just like there is no room for interpretation. It's like, this is it, this is what it is, eat it up, and it's going to go in one ear out the other, and you'll forget about it in a week. And that is what makes the most money in the box office, is movies that don't cause you to think too much, and that don't make you have to sit back and say, hey, there might be more to this than what meets the eye. And as a film lover, that's really disappointing. And I know that every person comes from a different background and feels a different way about what film should be, but like, to see statements like this online that are just so stupid, to say like, we shouldn't give directors creative freedom that may make a movie that's really heady that not everybody's gonna like. Because some of my favorite films of all time are movies that are way headier and that made me think, and that I might not even necessarily understand every single nuance the director was going for, but whatever is there is something that resonated with me in a very specific way, and I'm grateful that those films exist. I think a perfect example for A24 is the David Robert Mitchell film Under the Silver Lake, which I think is an absolute masterpiece. I thought it was fantastic, an incredible critique on the Hollywood machine, looking at misogyny in the industry. There's so many amazing subtextual moments throughout that film that every time I watch it, I get something different out of, and general audiences hated it, and they hated it because it was something that you had to think more about than just watch on a surface level viewing. And that's not going to be for everyone, but just because it's not for everyone doesn't mean that it shouldn't be made. So I'm curious to hear what you guys think, especially regarding this one specific statement, because I think creative freedom is the most important part of filmmaking as a whole, and if we lose creative freedom, then it's going to get really scary when it comes to filmmaking in general. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.